I'm back. I'm Jocelyn Bamford, and we're talking with Dr. Jack Mintz about the economy, but we're going to shift gears and talk about our education institutions. It seems that everywhere these institutions, and even in disciplines that you think would be objective, have become very politicized. How did this happen, Dr. Mintz?
Well, I think it's, I think part of it, is that we've lost the meaning of, what research is all about, and what the importance of universities and colleges and allowing people to debate ideas and having the freedom to do so. Instead, they start getting canceled out by if they happen to have a particular point of view that's not consistent with some other point of view in the university. And I think that has been, a real undermining of things. Now, in my article, I was really talking about economics, and my whole career was in public economics, the study of governments, and I did mention, that we've had historically a view of, looking at governments as benevolent dictators making the right kind of decisions in terms of, transfer payments and if there's a market failure, knowing what to do and how to solve that market failure. But we never really talk about how governments actually behave and the various government failures that can arise. And I think this is part of the difficulty now, even in a field where, like economics, which is generally objective in a lot of its work. I mean, asks questions like, if you raise the price of gasoline, how much does gasoline demand fall? I mean, that's a study there's nothing normative about that. But when we do get into normative or public policy issues as economists, we tend to, I think too much about our particular way that we characterize market failure, ignoring the fact that the government, that every time we suggest things that government should be doing, we don't take into account that maybe governments are going to fail and could make things worse rather than better by addressing the market failure.
Yeah, and absolutely, we've seen that. Dr. Mintz, this is the part of the show that every week I ask my guest, if you were a politician, what 3 things you would do to grow jobs in the economy. You have the floor. What would you do?
Well, I think I would need about an hour to talk about that in Folsom. But, I think the biggest problem right now we have in Canada is that we try to rely on the government too much to solve problems. Instead, we need to have the private sector rejuvenated. And so I think my big idea would be to basically make it very clear to the world that Canada is open for business and that we will welcome international investments coming into Canada. We will welcome our Canadians to invest in their own economy. We will welcome our innovators to come up with new ideas and grow jobs. We will do things like get rid of the regulations that actually harm the economy. There are regulations that are beneficial to the economy; those should stay in, obviously. And we're going to have a tax reform that's going to be much more focused on growth rather than just redistribution. And I think that's the problem that we've had right now, is that we've had, particularly at the federal level, a government that's been just completely focused on redistribution all the time, starting up new programs like dental care, pharmacare, but not thinking about how you're going to pay for it by having a much more active and exciting private sector. And in fact, it's interesting, the U.S., they also have a government that's making a lot of mistakes, I think, at this time. But the one thing they have is a very active private sector that really pulls the American economy along. And that's what we need, is to really rejuvenate our private sector. And I think we need a government to say, we're open for business. And I think that's going to be probably my key recommendation.
I think that's great recommendations. I can attest to what you say is true. We've opened a secondary business in Suffolk, Virginia, and the attitude of the bureaucrats is, how can we help you? And they really mean it. They reduce the red tape and they help you grow your business. So Dr. Mintz, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us and giving us your insights.
Happy to do so, and see you next time, I assume.
Absolutely.